He tried to take the ring, and yet he became a hero. In a world where power corrupts and temptation breaks even the strongest, one man stood at the edge of ruin and found a redemption. This is the untold victory of Boromir, son of Denethor, Captain of Gondor. Welcome back to You Shall Not Scroll, where we dive into the lost legends, forgotten ages, and hidden depths of Tolkien's world. In today's video, we're uncovering the forgotten triumph of Boromir, how even after trying to take the ring, he became one of the greatest heroes of Middle-earth. Boromir was the eldest son of Denethor II, Steward of Gondor, and Findulias of Dol Amroth, Prince Imrahil's sister. His mother died when he was just 10 years old, a loss that left a wound on his heart and shaped the course of his life. Boromir was a man both strong and noble, tall, proud, with fair hair and gray eyes. He was valiant and fearless, and a leader of men. But beneath his strength lay a quiet tragedy. His father Denethor descended into pride and despair. His use of the Palantir drove him to the belief that there was no hope in victory. Even though Gandalf states that despair is for those who see the end beyond all doubt, and that's just not possible, Palantiri or not. Boromir's brother Faramir, gentle and wise, was often overlooked, even though he had the respect and admiration of his men. Faramir was willing to learn from Gandalf and was interested in things other than the Númenórean past. These are just some of the reasons Boromir became the favored son, the warrior of Gondor. His praise was not unwarranted though, and he was a noble man who believed in strength and valor and saw the survival of Gondor as a sacred duty. His loyalty to his people was his undoing. He was not as steeped in elvish lore or ancient wisdom as Faramir, but what he did know was that Gondor was falling, and this weapon, the One Ring, might be its salvation. Boromir bore the true blood of Númenor and was descended from a mighty line, the House of Húrin, but his greatness would not be found in conquest, it would be forged in failure. Boromir was sent to Rivendell in response to a reoccurring dream shared by both him and Faramir. The dream spoke of seeking for the sword that was broken in Imladris, as well as Isildur's bane being woken. So, Boromir, trusting to his strength and resolve, made a long and dangerous journey from Minas Tirith to Rivendell. On the way, he lost his horse, fording the Grey Flood River, and was forced to continue on foot. The entire trip took just under 4 months and was roughly 1,000 miles, or 1,609 kilometers. This feat alone illustrates just how valiant and hardy Boromir was, even for the heir of the Steward. In Rivendell, Boromir was shocked to learn the history of the ring's survival and its connection to Sauron. Being proud and always thinking of Gondor's defense, the idea of using the weapon of the enemy was forefront in his mind. However, he was chosen to join the Fellowship. He wanted to represent Gondor and defend his people, but he also wanted to stay close to the ring. He knew he would have time to persuade the others to head to Minas Tirith with the ring while they were heading south. Boromir had some heroic moments with the Fellowship on their journey. He was critical in the Fellowship surviving the Pass of Caradhras, where he counseled they bring firewood up the mountain, and then he cleared a path through deep snow with Aragorn so they could carry the hobbits down the mountain. He then journeyed with the others through Moria, Lothlorien, and down the river Anduin, but all the while, the ring gnawed at his mind. Boromir began to believe that the ring should not be destroyed, but wielded, for Gondor, for victory. He tried and failed to convince the Fellowship to head for Gondor and then start again for Mordor from there. Aragorn saw the need to keep the ring away from Minas Tirith and the stewards, so as the leader, he deemed the company would head east. In the woods of Parth Galen, Boromir gave in. He tried to seize the ring, telling Frodo, "It is by our own folly that the enemy will defeat us. If any mortal has claim to the ring, it is the men of Númenor and not halflings. It should be mine. Give it to me." Frodo escaped using the ring, and Boromir snapped out of his madness and wept. "What have I done? Frodo! Frodo!" Boromir was not a bad man. He was tempted and he fell, but he did not persist in his sin. He repented and atoned for his fault by his valor in the attempt to save Merry and Pippin. He was saved from a worse fall and achieved a real victory. In Tolkien's legendarium, characters are always given a second chance to redeem themselves. Even Fëanor could have turned around after the first kinslaying. Boromir is one who takes his chance and ultimately does redeem himself. When the Uruk-hai attacked, Boromir fought, not for himself but to protect Merry and Pippin. the smallest members of the Fellowship. With his last strength, he drove back many foes. Alone, he stood against a host. Tolkien tells us in the book, he was sitting, his back against a tree, as if he were resting. But Aragorn saw that he was pierced with many black-feathered arrows. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn, cloven in two, was at his side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and at his feet. His final act was not one of power, but of protection, sacrifice, and atonement. As Aragorn finds him dying, Boromir speaks some of his last words. "I tried to take the ring from Frodo. I am sorry. I have paid." And then Aragorn takes his hand and kisses his brow and tells him, "No, you have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace." Thus passed Boromir. Tolkien was clear. Boromir was not lost. He was not like Gollum or even Saruman. He fell, yes, but he rose again through his own free will. Even the best of intentions can be corrupted by the desire for power, but in resisting the final evil, in giving his life, Boromir is redeemed. His story echoes one of Tolkien's deepest themes, fall and redemption. Unlike those who serve Sauron, Boromir never gave in to evil fully. He sinned, he stumbled, but he repented. And in Tolkien's moral universe, that matters more than never falling at all. So what was Boromir's victory? It was not a triumph measured in conquered lands or enemies slain beneath fluttering banners. It was not a song sung in the halls of kings, nor a moment of glory celebrated by history. Boromir's true victory was quieter, heavier, and far more difficult, a battle fought within his own heart. He faced the seductive corruption of the ring, a force that preyed upon his fear, his pride, and his desperate love for his people. And though he stumbled, as all mortals do, he ultimately rose above it. In his final moments, Boromir did what mattered most. He acknowledged his failure without excuses. He confessed his wrongs openly, accepting responsibility for his actions rather than hiding from them. And then, when the moment came, he chose sacrifice over survival. He stood alone against overwhelming odds, placing himself between innocent lives and inevitable death. Each arrow that struck him was not a mark of defeat, but proof of his resolve. Most importantly, Boromir died with honor. His last stand delayed the Uruk-hai, giving Frodo and Sam precious time to escape. His courage protected Merry and Pippin, and reshaped the path of the journey ahead. Boromir's death was not the end of his story. It was a turning point that proved even failure can give way to redemption, and that true victory is found not in perfection, but in choosing what is right when it matters most. Boromir reminds us that even those who fall can rise again, that redemption is possible not through perfection, but through courage, humility, and sacrifice. He was not the ring bearer, he was not the wizard, he was not the king, but he was Boromir, son of Denethor, Captain of Gondor, a man who lost a battle with himself, and in doing so, won a war for Middle-earth. Thanks for watching this deep dive into one of Tolkien's most tragic and heroic characters. If you believe Boromir deserves more honor, drop a comment. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more journeys into the lost tales of Middle-earth. And we'll see you next time.